Let's go.
Good morning. Good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? Hope you're all fit and well. Hope you're all dry too. It is chucking it down out there. I'll come back to that in just a very quick moment. I do owe the members of our WhatsApp group a very humble apology today. Seems it was as busy as hell last night on the WhatsApp group, and I was nowhere to be seen, missing in action. My insomnia earlier this week kicked in and frankly laid me low. I was conked out by about 8 o'clock last night. So Dan and Gary in particular, my apologies for my radio silence. Wasn't being rude. I was busy being asleep. So sorry about that. Now, I would like to highlight a very quick topic that is not really for the main part of this morning's show, but I do think it's worthy of our discussion. And it is this. Don't know if you saw that on Construction Inquiry this morning, but they are reporting that a person has been killed falling from a crane in Leeds. The person in question was not a member of staff, and by all accounts, he entered the site unauthorised overnight. We've reported on this trend of so-called urban exploration many times before, and it's claimed lives before as well. I think I've been reporting on it for a good 7, possibly even 8 years now, and it is an issue. Now, as I say, I don't want to clog up the show with it, but I would like to have a chat about it after the show if you're still here. Try and get an idea of what could possibly be done about it. I do need to say some very quick good mornings too, among others. I do need to press Jim Turner's button, actually. In the biblical sense. Let's have a look. Dan Cullen was here even before the show started. Mark Whiting is here. Peter McKenna's here. Footy's here as well. Mick Saunders is here. Glenn Johnston is here. I need to do Glenn's button as well. Let's have a look. See if I can find Glenn. There we go. That should say good morning to him. Gary Muirhead is here. Lots more besides. Just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. Steve Williamson is here. Good morning, Steve. Ken Hatter is here, and he's really got some weather, and Jim Turner is here as well. I think that will probably do us for now. I'm also going to say a very quick good morning to everybody that's watching over on Instagram, and there are plenty of them this morning. Now, where was I? Yes. As I said, I don't know what it's like where you are, but it is absolutely chucking it down right now here in leafy Surrey. So if you'd like something to distract you from the weather, then kick back, crank up the volume, and let today's show wash over you. Now, under normal circumstances, tomorrow would be the final show of the week, but as I'm sure you're aware, the Saturday Social is scheduled to return this week, back by popular demand. Popular-ish demand. Yeah, at 10 o'clock on Saturday, I'll be sat here, quite possibly wearing a different hat, ready to host a chat-only show. There's no video, no mystery machine, and I won't be leaping gazelle-like anywhere. I'll just be sat down with a cup of tea in my hand. Just a bunch of us chewing the fat and seeing where the conversation takes us all, and hopefully it won't lead us down the path towards testicles as it did yesterday. That's a whole other story. If you weren't here yesterday, that'll make no sense to you, but it did. If that sounds like something you can get behind, please join us at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning. We'd love to have you along for the ride. Now, without further ado, I'm going to roll the intro, post the question of the day, and it's an important question of the day. I have a funny feeling we may have done it before, but obviously we've got more people watching now, particularly over on Instagram. So I would like to get your take on the most important question of the day. And we're going to get the show on the road. So let me click that intro just as soon as I can find it. It's there. Also need to say good morning to the marvellous Andy Darvell, who's just joined us as well. And should I say, Kerry Jones, who is also with us. It is Thursday, the 8th of February, 2024. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, as always, Mark Anthony. It'd be quite a shock if you turned on and it wasn't me, wouldn't it? Maybe I should do that sometime. In today's show, look, Ma, no cab. Komatsu's autonomous mine truck is a glimpse of the future. XCMG delivers in Turkey. It delivers in Turkey. It doesn't deliver a Turkey. Caterpillar gets to grips with trees, and Montabert embraces telematics for greater attachment management. But before we get to all of that, we have the small matter of our latest Mystery Machine game to take care of. So let me do the official introduction to that. And just before we get into the Mystery Machine, I would like to say the question of the day is, which I'm about to repeat in just a second, it is, what is the greatest biscuit? And I can tell you already, Mick Saunders has the correct answer. There isn't a correct answer, but if anyone's going to get a correct answer, Mick's got it. Right, let's have a look at the Mystery Machine, shall we? See if you can figure out what this is. Getting tougher by the day, aren't they? Getting tougher by the day. If anybody's got any clues what that might be, I'd love to hear from you. And we are looking for both make and model. If you've got any clues on what that might be, please let us know in the chat. We'll come back to it a bit later on. In fact, in a couple of minutes. But while you're figuring that out, let's have a look. Jim Turner has already taken a wild stab at that. He says a Thwaites 9-ton dumper. No, it is not one of those. It is, I'm going to get rid of that because we're talking biscuits there. Nothing to do with the Mystery Machine whatsoever. And Mick Norton has just joined us as well. Good morning, Mick. Let me get that off the screen. We will revisit the Mystery Machine in just a moment. But while you're figuring that out, I do need to remind you very quickly of... I'm just going to say very quickly, Dan has guessed the F-130 Volvo. It is not. Mick Saunders says 25-ton Volvo dumper. It is not that either. Yeah, it might be a bit tougher today. As I said, let me remind you of our question of the day. Yeah, I know a lot of you have already started to answer this, but I'm going to remind you very quickly. It is our question of the day. Very important question, a question of national and possibly international importance. The question is this: what is the world's greatest biscuit? Now, there are rules. Please don't come at me with Jaffa cakes. I agree. Jaffa cakes are a high watermark in human evolution, but the clue is in the title. It's a cake. Don't come at me like my wife did this morning with fig rolls. Too much fruit. Also a cake. But what about you? What do you believe to be the world's greatest biscuit? And just to narrow things down, you know the story with Jaffa cakes. Jaffa cakes are a cake because when Jaffa cakes go stale, they get hard. When biscuits get stale, they go soft. I want something that goes soft when it's stale, quite possibly when it's dunked in tea as well. Let us know in the chat. What is your favorite biscuit? Well, what is the greatest biscuit in the world? Either way, we'll come back to that at the very end of the show. Yes, plenty more guesses coming in. Who have we got here? Steve Williamson says, is it a High Dreamer dumper? It is not. Dan Cullen says, is it a Volvo 180 backhoe? It is not. Gary Muirhead says, is it a Thwaites 6-ton swivel skip? It is not. My personal favourite guess so far today is Peter McKenna, who says, is it a big yellow skip? It's none of those things. It's none of those things. Tell you what, just to keep you rolling along, and Dan, no, it's not a Lugon loading shovel either. Just to keep things rolling along, let me give you just a little bit more. Yes. Doesn't help at all, does it? Doesn't help at all. Now, let me see. Let me get that off the screen. That's clue enough for now, I think. For those of us that grew up watching Thunderbirds and Space 1999 on the TV, the machine I'm about to show you may already look weirdly familiar, even though it is, in fact, a machine of the future. You'll see what I mean when I get to it. Komatsu autonomous trucks have already hauled well over 1 billion tons of material worldwide, and it seems likely that they're going to be moving a whole lot more in the very near future. I do need to dredge this off of my... let's have a look. I'm going to get this off my hard drive. Bear with me 1 second. It is this one. Got to say, I could watch that all day. Thoroughly enjoyed that. I'm going to get back to the comments in that. Just going to say good morning to Blair and the Digger Driver over on Instagram. We're also going to say Benny Dipper says it'd be good when a sensor fails and it goes off the edge. Lots of comments on that. And I'm going to come back to our machine of the day because lots of good guesses coming in on that. I'm going to say good morning to our friend Chris Hall, who's just arrived late today. And apparently he's got some weather where he is. Gary Muirhead on that Komatsu machine. It's a wonder they haven't made it a trolley truck as well. Maybe if the application is correct, maybe. Dan Cullen says, looks weird. A lot relying on audio and connectivity, much the same as was said over on Instagram. What happens if things do go pear-shaped with the connectivity? Good question. Dan, I know this is a particular bugbear with Dan. Not a great idea. Could be men losing their jobs. It could well be. Andy Darvell picks up on this. He says, loading over the front. Even without the driver and cab, you could drop material on the bonnet and damage the engine motor. Surely they look at things like this when making animations like this. And no, I'm not loving all this autonomy. More and more people are losing their job. Yeah, we do feels like we're headed that way, doesn't it? You know, I thought that was one of the most interesting things. Ken Hatcher has picked up on it there. The electric motor doesn't know whether doesn't know forward or reverse. Why would it need to? Why would it need to? If you're sat in a cab and you've got to choose reverse, absolutely fine. If it's an autonomous machine and it's working autonomously, you know, on a pre-programmed thing, that's the same thing as far as the machine is concerned. Let's have a look. Gary Muirhead says, has anyone tried stepping out in front of one to see if it will stop? It's a good question, but surely the idea is if you're going down that route, there are no peeps about. You actually have them tucked away in a nice warm office somewhere rather than actually out in front of the machine. We're going to come back to that in just a second, I think. Let's have a look. Mick Norton is going, we're talking about biscuits at the moment, and Mick Norton has just gone completely off sideways. I'll come back to that. Chris Ford says his guess is on the mystery machine is a dumper. Well, I'll tell you what, let me throw it up on the screen again, because we have had, and I'm going to give you a bit more to go on. Not that necessarily helps. We have had quite a bit of interaction on that. I tell you what, I'm going to switch out glasses already early in the show, but I can't see a damn thing. Let's have a look. Gary Muirhead. Oh, no, actually, Dan Cullen says, is it a Mechalak forward tip dumper? It is not. Gary Muirhead says, is it a Barford 6-ton swivel skip? It is not. Ken Hatcher guess Barford. It is not. Ken Hatcher also guesses at Benford. We just got a little bit closer. Andy Darvell has also gone for Benford as well. Steve Williamson has gone for Hydrema. Peter McKenna has gone for a Terex TA9. It is not. Hydrema 707G. It is none of those things. Nor is it a Hydrema 912G. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Peter McKenna has guessed at that. He has guessed at a PS 3000 from Thwaites. I'm not a complete expert on the Thwaites product line, but as far as I know, that is not the model number of a Thwaites machine. It's the model number of another brand. And even the model number is not right, but read between the lines. You're getting ever closer, people. Let's have a look. Thwaites turning dumper. It is not that. Is it a forward tipping dumper, an old Benford? Could be. It is not a JCB 6-ton swivel, nor is it a Terex 9-ton swivel. Benford 6-ton swivel skip. I'm looking for model numbers, people. I'm looking for model numbers. It is not a Terex PS 3000. Keep the guesses coming in. Keep them coming in. Mostly Diggers. Our friend Garvin has just guessed at. I've got the wrong piece of paper in front of me. He has just guessed at a Benford PS 3000. That close. I tell you what, you can't even see what I'm saying. You're that close even. Not right, but you're not right. Let's have a look. Benford PS3000. It is not a PS3000. We'll come back to it immediately after we've moved on, and we need to move on with a smidgen, I think, of this.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
I love this bit on the mystery machine. We've now got people just working their way through the product range of a certain manufacturer called Benford. Garvin guessed at the 3000. That wasn't right. He's now guessed at the 4000. Guess what? That's not right either. So keep the guesses coming in. Where are we? Yes. Since I've been doing this show, I know that several of our viewers have taken delivery of new machines. I know that Gary has. I know that Steve Williamson has too. It's an exciting time. The smell of a new machine, getting to grips with a whole new set of controls, setting up your personal preferences and all that good stuff. So I can only imagine how the operator of this beauty from XCMG felt when this one arrived. Looks a cracking machine. I wonder if the operator's still polishing it daily. Now, are we any closer? We've actually got a winner, as it happens, on our mystery machine. Gary Muirhead is guessing the 1.5-ton high-tip swivel from Thwaites. It is not. Dan Cullen is now inventing machines. The JCB 6 TS TRCK 2915950 lol. It's not that either. Well, I can tell you. I'll tell you now that somebody has got the right answer, and that someone is actually Peter McKenna. It is a Benford PS 5000, and I know Garvin over at Mostly Diggers has got exactly the same answer. And just to prove that I'm not winding you all up, there it is. Slow reveal. There it is. Benford. Looking slightly the worse for wear, that one. A Benford PS 5000 dumper. Yes, that's what it was. So congratulations to Peter McKenna. You just about, and I'm looking at the timeline. I think, according to this, you actually got the same answer as Garvin in the same minute, but yours popped up on my screen just a little bit ahead of his. So congratulations, gentlemen. We're giving the prize. There isn't a prize, but we're giving the prize today to Peter McKenna. Congratulations, Mr. McKenna. And thank you very much indeed for taking part. We'll be back again with more mystery machines tomorrow, assuming I can find something suitably mysterious. Now, let's crack on. There's Peter McKenna. basking in his own glory. Well done, Peter. Thank you very much indeed for that. Dan Cullen says, great pick. Well done, Peter. I am going to pick up on this, Mick, I promise you. But we did mention at the top of, or I did mention at the top of the show, about this guy that has fallen off a crane up in Leeds. Apparently not a member of staff, got into the site overnight, climbed the crane, and has fallen and been killed. Mick Saunders says, regarding the crane climber, I was talking to the security people on Canary Wharf projects. They reckon they've stopped over 30 climbers alone this year. Why do these idiots carry on? I would like to know why they carry on. It's not, listen, I don't even mind heights, but quite what possesses somebody to climb a machine or a block, I don't know. Ken Diggerman. Apparently, Ken Diggerman, which I'm assuming is Ken Hatcher, is watching on. He's on Facebook, but he's also watching over on Instagram. Does that mean you've got me in stereo, Ken? If that's the case, I can only apologise. Now, where were we? Oh, I know where we were. Trees, timber, notoriously difficult to handle and manipulate. But fear not, Caterpillar has got you covered. Just a very quick point before I play this film for you. The captions are in Spanish purely because I couldn't find an English version, but that shouldn't distract you from the enjoyment of the film. Enjoy. Wonder what the visibility is like from a cab when you've got 50 trees in the air. Just asking. I'm never likely to do it, but I'd love to get your take on that. Declan Connolly has just joined us. Good morning, Declan. Thank you very much indeed for being here. He says, looking well, mate. I don't think he means me. I think he probably means the machine we were just showing off. Peter McKenna says that was air guitar heaven. Dan Cullen says, now that's a grab. Yes, it most certainly is. I know Ken has put over on Instagram, I've got kind of two conversations going on here. One of the things he's put over there is about this guy that's died by climbing up a crane overnight and falling to his death. If the site is secure, not much they can do. That's one of the things I want to discuss because, yes, sites should be secure anyway. I take all that on board. But is it really the responsibility of the contractor to be preventing this? Is it an education thing? Or who is paying for that additional security? You know, if you've gone from, if you've started out with site holding and they're getting past that and you've now got to have men and dogs on site, who is paying for that? That would be my question. We'll come back to that at the very, very end. Dan Cullen, I was determined we weren't going to go down this route again, but I'm going to say what you said. Imagine that, grabbing your plums. I can't believe we're back to plums again. If you weren't here yesterday, that will make no sense, but we did quite a lot on plums yesterday for reasons I honestly can't remember. Now, let's do a little bit of this.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
Now, back in the late 1990s, those fine folks, we've already heard from them once this morning, those fine folks at Komatsu were one of the many sponsors of the Williams F1 team. Now, after something of a hiatus, they are back.
Williams and Komatsu won both World Championships together in 1997.
More than 3 decades later, there has never been a better time for us to collaborate once again, bringing our people and expertise together to empower a positive future.
Williams Racing is proud to once again partner with Komatsu.
We would like to offer you a very warm welcome to the Williams Racing family.
I'm excited about the opportunity of working in partnership again, creating value together.
Komatsu, principal partner of Williams Racing. On behalf of everyone at Williams Racing, we would like to thank you for your support.
And we look forward to building a positive and successful partnership by creating value together.
Yeah. Now, I don't know the current status of JCB's deal with the Aston Martin team, but in all likelihood, JCB and Komatsu will be going head-to-head in the Formula One season ahead. Who will you be rooting for? Are you Team JCB? Are you Team Komatsu? Or are you Team something else? To be honest, your answer doesn't really mean anything to me because I don't know anything about Formula One. I just know that Komatsu are back in Formula One. Good to see it. Now, let's roll a bit of this, shall we? Earlier this week, we brought you a film of Ardennes Equipment as the company prepares to take its place at the Intermat exhibition in just a few months' time. But they will not be the only French attachment manufacturer at the show. Breaker maker Montabert will be there too. And they're bringing the tech. Yeah, Steve Williamson makes a very good point. I wonder how they'll get on delivering equipment to Intermat with all these farmers protesting and blocking roads. Obviously, it is still best part of 2 and a bit months away. Hopefully, things will be resolved in Paris by then. Otherwise, we could have a bit of an issue. I was at an Intermat many moons ago, and this wasn't a national strike, but there had been, I can't remember whether it was job layoffs or something like that, but there was a protest on the Caterpillar stand. I know that Caterpillar have got 1, possibly 2 factories in France, and they decided, the workers there decided to picket their stand. Caused quite a lot of chaos, if I remember rightly. That is going to do us for the main part of this morning's show, but lots and lots to discuss. Thankfully, today, probably not testicles. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into the chat to see what you're all saying today. If you can't stick around for that, then please stay safe, look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. Hope to see you again very soon. Please stay dry as well. I'll be back here again tomorrow. I'll be back here on Saturday as well, if you're that way inclined. But if you have the time and the inclination today, I'll be back with the Craic immediately after this final word from our key show sponsor. Right, going to change the music up a bit today. Yes, that's more my mood today. I don't know what mood that is, but you get the idea. Good morning, everyone. Jake Paddy has just joined us over on Instagram. Morning, my friend. Thank you very much indeed for being here. I'm only singling out the people that I actually know and whose names I can pronounce on Instagram. Everybody else on Instagram, good morning. Thank you very much indeed for being there. I'm going to go right back to the beginning. I do want to get onto this subject. I do need to throw this up on the screen, actually. Bear with me 1 second because I've lost the connection. It is this. I do want to get to discuss that. I think I need that one or that one. That's the one I want. Yeah, crane climber found dead at Leeds site. Man has plunged to his death from a crane at a construction site in Leeds, West Yorkshire. I would like to come back to that at some point, but I'm going to take that off the screen just for now, and we'll come back to it when we get to the right point. Dan Cullen, even before the show started, said, great day for the Ducks. It most certainly is. Dogs went out this morning, did not enjoy it one bit. Hastily went back to bed. Let's have a look. Who have we got here? Mark Whiting is here as well. Morning, Mark. Morning, Peter McKenna. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Good morning to Footy. Footy, I heard from last night. I've been typing this morning with my fingers crossed for you, mate. Looks like he could be about to get himself a nice new job. My fingers are well and truly crossed. Mick Saunders, Glenn Johnston, both in the house. Good to see you, gents. Gary Muirhead as well. Play, damn you. There you are. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, everybody. Good morning to you, Gary, as well. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Good to see the usual gang on parade. Thank you very much. Let's have a look. Peter McKenna says, drizzle here, although it has tried to snow. We've had none of that. We've just got endless rain. How the Buick goggles are we all? I'm thinking that's probably bejesus or something. Buick goggles? I don't believe that's an actual expression. Let's have a look. Who else have we got? Steve Williamson is here as well. Morning, Steve. And I will be hearing from Steve in just a moment. And just to prove that I wasn't making stuff up, Footy says, now waiting for my next interview with the company. Hopefully next week. We will all have our fingers crossed for you, sir. Beautiful and warm in a 5-tonner. Burnett outside, not sure what that bit means. Ken Hatcher, without words, has given us a very quick update on the weather in Wales. Yeah, I can only imagine. Jim Turner's here as well. Morning, Jim. And my dogs are exactly the same. The hound just took one look out the door and now sat crossing his legs. Can't say I blame him at all. Now, Peter has been in and out of the show. He has been in and out of the show. But he has obviously missed the fact that we don't currently do on this day in history, because he's come up with an on this day in history. In 1836, the first London railway train ran from Spa Road to Deptford. There were fears that the great speed of 16 miles an hour would break passengers' necks. 16 miles an hour in London is way quicker than they're travelling today, but we don't do, at least currently, we have dropped the history today, or the on this day in history section, to make way for our mystery machine. Speaking of which, congratulations to Peter on getting the right answer on that one. Mad considering trains now travel over 100 miles an hour nowadays. Sort of. In and around London they bloody don't. They barely bloody move. Let's have a look. Not sure. What is my wife saying? I don't know if she's pleading for coffee or what that is, actually. I did mention this, and I will throw it up very quickly because Dan has already responded. Oh my God, unfortunately, not a lot can be done as companies scrimp on night security. They do, and it's a subject we've covered. We even had a special live show dedicated to that very subject a few years ago. You can find that if you go over to Demolition News and search for urban exploration, you will see we did a live show particularly on that issue, and that was done in the aftermath of one or more people dying previously. This is not unusual. It's not. Is it a big enough problem for a national campaign? No, it is not. But, and I'm going to pick up on what Dan has said here, scrimping on night security. Night security is fine if somebody is willing to pay for it. And I tend to look at a lot of things like this from a demolition contractor's point of view. should a demolition contractor be paying for night security if the client they're working for is unwilling to cover that cost? Now, I realise that in some instances we're talking about vandals here and possibly arsonists, so there is a degree of protecting their own machines, but should they be protecting the site? That's one of my questions. But the other question that I've got, and I may even come back to this on Saturday, I don't know, those of you of a certain age might remember, we had back in the, I'm going to guess, late 70s or possibly early 80s, we had a series of really graphic, horrific, hard to watch TV adverts to discourage children from playing on the railway lines. I wonder if the industry is overdue doing something like that about entering sites and climbing buildings and climbing cranes. And I realise, you know, I'm doing this from an educational point of view, and I realise that some of the people that are doing this kind of thing are not children at all. I mean, I used to follow a YouTuber who lives, or used to live, not a million miles away from me. And I used to follow him basically because he used to do a lot of travel. You know, he'd travel off to Bali and you know, various other places, and you know, he was a very good videographer. As a person, he was a bit of a tit, but you know, his travel vlogs were very, very good. But the reason I stopped following him was he actually did this. He climbed a building and was literally hanging off the edge of the building to get the money shot photograph of London disappear. You can't see even see what I'm doing. London, you know, the London skyline behind him, and there's him doing the selfie, basically risking his life and the lives of others. I do have a concern with that, and as I say, I wonder if it is actually an educational thing. Footy says, I hope no one missed me yesterday. Footy, the show was not the same without you, but you did have a very, very good excuse for not being here. Andy Darvell, with a throwback to the 90s, says, what's up? Yeah, what's up? Indeed. What's up? What's good? What's hanging? I'm down with the kids. I know what I'm talking about. Question of the day today was quite simply that: what is the world's greatest biscuit? Lots of answers, lots of very good answers, but only one, to my mind, that is correct. Let's have a look. There's Kerry Jones saying good morning. Jim Turner. I have a very precise relationship with the ginger nut. Very precise relationship with the ginger nut. I dunk ginger nuts, but only in coffee. Cannot bear the idea of dunking a ginger nut into tea, but I do like a ginger nut with a cup of coffee. I'll go with that. Dan, look, I realise it's your lifestyle choice, but don't be telling me that Ben's vegan cookies are the best biscuits in the world. Please don't be telling me that. I'm not having that one bit. Gary Muirhead, good call. Has to be the chocolate digestive. Are we talking the dark or are we talking the milk chocolate? Personally, I'm all about the dark chocolate. Steve Williamson, posh Steve is. He is going for the gold biscuits. Good one. But I have to say, to my mind, and it's my show, my rules, Mick Saunders. Yeah, that's the daddy right there. A dunked rich tea. Piping hot cup of tea, single dunk, bosh, whole biscuit in. So you get the soft bit and you get the hard bit that you were holding on to. That is the correct answer. I will accept no alternatives. Peter McKenna, what are you thinking of custard creams? Custard creams aren't even in the Premier League of biscuits. A bourbon, however, see now a bourbon, I'm all about that. My other half says ginger nuts, so she's in with Jim Turner. Cream and jam biscuits, I think she means jammy Dodgers and the like, or party rings. See, I can't have party rings in the house because I will eat them. I will eat them without question. Ken Hatcher going for the plain digestive. It's a good one. If I'm going to do digestive biscuits, though, I'd rather pound them into within an inch of their life, cover them in butter, and make them the base of a cheesecake. That's just me. Dan Cullen says, try Ben's biscuits. Unbelievable. I will not do that. I will not. I made the mistake, I reckon 3 years ago. coming back from wherever it was I'd been, phoned Fred and said, have you had your lunch today? And he said no. So I stopped off at our local Wild Bean Cafe. Yes, we're upmarket. I get my lunch at a petrol station. So I stopped off and got us, it was in the run up to Christmas. So I bought us both a Christmas sandwich, you know, with turkey and stuffing and all of the things. Wasn't vegan, but it was, what's the other one? The ones that can't eat. I've gone blank. Wasn't plant-based because it had meat in it. It was the other one. It was for people that can't do wheat and stuff. What is the name of that? I've had a brain fart. If anybody's got that on the tip of their tongue, but it was one of those. Sorry? Gluten-free. Gluten-free. The voice of God just came through my door. Gluten-free. That's what it was, and it was fucking horrible. So no, I won't be trying Ben's biscuits. No time in. Footy says Gary Baldy's. And I realise I'm not going to mock because I know Footy is very, very dyslexic. But the very fact that it's come out when he's done his text to speech or his voice to text rather, it's come out as Gary Baldy's, like it's the name of a person. This is my friend Gary Baldy. Fantastic. Peter McKenna says, I don't mind if custard creams are stale either. Lots and lots of guesses on our mystery machine, which, as we all know, turned out to be that beauty there. I say beauty, clearly seen better days, but that is your Benford PS 5000. That's what it was. Let's have a look. Who else we got here? Lots and lots of guesses on all of that. Footy says his favourite biscuit is an Eccles cake. It's a good call. As I say, lots and lots of guesses. Jim Turner enjoyed the tune. That was my handiwork. That was the tune that Komatsu had put with their autonomous truck video wasn't quite to my liking, so I stripped it out and I put my own in. And this. I'm trying to turn this music down because I do have a bit of a point to make on this. Let's take that down. That's better. So, okay, till the computer says no. This is Peter, and I think somebody else said the same. I think somebody said it over on Instagram. And Dan Cullen says it here as well. That truck looks weird, a lot relying on audio and connectivity. I wonder if the equipment manufacturers of the world are doing a sufficiently good job on educating and conditioning the market. And I mean that not just with autonomous machines, although that's the one I'm going to come on to, but also with electric machines. I think when we see something like we've just seen there on the autonomous truck, there is a temptation to look at them and try to find the potential problems. Somebody said over on Instagram that you could lose connection with a sensor and the whole thing could go over the edge of a mine. Obviously, that's going to be a major problem. That's something we need to address. Now, we are talking here specifically, in this instance, we're talking about Komatsu. Komatsu is whatever it is, 20, 30, 40 billion pounds a year. Komatsu will have thought of that. There will be fail-safe systems on fail-safe systems on fail-safe systems. They will have thought of that. Good morning, Stu Davis over on Instagram. They will have thought of that, but they're not talking about it. And as I say, I would say exactly the same about electric machines. Here's some electric machines, and we've all gone, oh, they're very exciting, but what about battery life? What about charging times? What about how long they can run? What about what happens with the battery after it's used up? All of those questions could have been addressed in advance, but they weren't. And I think autonomous machines are exactly the same. You know, rather than just getting all carried away with here's an autonomous machine and it's, you know, it's big and it doesn't have a cab and it's sexy, it doesn't know the difference between forward and reverse. What about addressing those potential issues up front and saying, yes, we have invented an autonomous truck. One thing, it will operate in the middle of nowhere, so sensors shouldn't. It will have sensors just in case somebody strays into its path. But we've already thought of that. We've already thought about fail-safe systems to make sure it doesn't go off the edge of a cliff or something like that. Stu Davis says, personally, I think stick to diesel. I think there's a lot of people saying exactly the same thing. But as I say, I do wonder if the manufacturers are doing enough. And Stu also says, why change something when everything else works? The issue, Stu, obviously is global warming, climate change. Diesel is on borrowed time. Like it or loathe it. And if that's the change we're going to make, I said this the other day on this very show, I think much the same as we've all grown accustomed to putting, segregating our waste outside our front door before the bin man arrives. It's not a big change, and we become accustomed to it. My wife now drives a semi-hybrid car. We've become accustomed to that. I think we need to become accustomed to the fact that, if we want to be able to operate machines in the future, we're going to have to find a different way of doing it. Otherwise, lots of us will be living underwater. Nobody wants that. Just saying. Let's have a look. Who else have we got here? Jim Turner has got the snow, but it's not settling. Andy Darvell picks up on this, and I do wonder. Yeah, Stu actually says, this Stu over on Instagram is saying exactly the same as Gary Muirhead has said. I wonder why they haven't made it a trolley truck as well. My guess is there probably is a trolley truck version of it as well. The issue with trolley trucks, obviously, is the fact that you are following a predetermined line with the overhead cables and what have you. My guess is that the autonomous truck that we saw there, particularly if the batteries are up to the job and you've got constant recharging, you've got more flexibility on haul routes. You could basically go in any direction rather than having to follow that line. And if you've got more than one face working in a mine, or if the face is constantly shifting, you don't have to worry about the infrastructure that supports it. But very, very good points as well. Dan Cullen says that truck looks weird, relying a lot on connectivity. This is true. This is very true. And there is, I could do my Frankie Goes to Hollywood poem bit. I'm not going to, but you get the idea. Have you seen the generator set ups for the electric Formula One? I have not. I don't do Formula One, says Benny Dipper over on Instagram. I haven't seen that. As I say, not a petrol head at all. Although I don't suppose you have to be a petrol head if you're talking about electric Formula One. Andy Delville raises a very, very interesting point. Tut, he says, loading over the front. Even without the driver and cab, you could drop material on the bonnet and damage the engine or motor. Surely they look at things like this when making animations like this. And no, I'm not loving all this autonomy. More and more people losing their jobs. Last point I'll take first. People losing their jobs. Yes. Although the industry is failing to recruit, particularly in construction, they're failing to recruit in the numbers that we need to operate machines. So, to a degree, the industry has kind of made a rod for its own back, and if we can't attract enough people to operate, maybe autonomy is the answer. I'm not happy about it, but maybe that is the answer. Second point that Andy raises there is you could drop material on the bonnet and damage the engine motor. Where is the engine and the motor? Is it where it is at the moment? Is it? Or is it lurking way down the machine? And here's another thought. We have as an industry, and you all know, there's a lot of operators here, here and over on Instagram. A lot of operators. There are accepted ways of doing things, reversing a truck under the excavator to make the loading as fast and as smooth as possible, and all we all know that, and maintaining haul roads. We know all of the rules that apply to humans. If there were a switch to remote control or autonomy, what happens to those rules? Do we rewrite them? Does all of that? Because if you think about the absolute paradigm shift of going from diesel to electric or to hydrogen, we've already made a major shift. If we're going from man behind the steering wheel or behind the levers to remote control or possibly even autonomy, we've shifted the rules, we've shifted the goalposts entirely. How are those machines going to operate? Do those same rules still apply? I realize they make perfect sense now, but do they make sense in the future? Do they? I thought of that on the fly. Stu Davis says, money as well, though, Mark. It's a skilled trade. It is a skilled trade, but I will go back to my point about recruitment. We have consistently failed to attract enough people into this industry. Whether that's because we live in the YouTube age, where everybody wants to be a YouTuber and nobody wants to get their hands dirty, maybe it's a bit of that. But we have completely failed to attract enough people. We have a shortfall. We've had a shortfall the entire time that I've been writing about demolition and construction, which is 35 years now. We've never actually overcome that shortfall. With that as the issue, is the solution, rather than keep trying to attract people, keep trying and failing to attract people, ditch people. And as I say, let me be absolutely clear on this, and I'm not sitting on the fence here. I love the tech, I love the engineering and the innovation, but I hate the idea of autonomy because, some of my best mates are digger drivers. I don't want that to happen. But unless the industry can start getting humans that are capable of doing that job and are happy to do it 5 and 6 days a week, 10, 12 hours a day, the industry will have no choice. Electric motor doesn't know forward or reverse. Interesting. That you've seen the autonomous, the mini autonomous trucks that we've shown you in the past from Volvo, and obviously, because they are a dumper, they do tip, so they only tip in one direction. But forward and reverse, apart from where you actually tip, doesn't actually make any difference whatsoever if you're autonomous. Who's worried about reverse? It's, who's worried about wing mirrors and reversing cameras? There's nobody to see it. There's nobody there. Doesn't matter. Which goes on to that point that I made. We have these very well established and well defined rules and regulations about what we do and what we don't do as humans on demolition, construction, mine, quarry sites. But if you take man out of the equation entirely, does any of that matter anymore? Has anyone tried stepping out in front of one of these to see if it will stop? Again, and I know you're saying that for good reason, Gary, but again, I will point to this. Komatsu have shifted more than 1 billion tons. It's probably more like 2 billion by the time I'm doing this. Autonomous machines. Caterpillar are probably up to about 6 billion tons. Neither of them have reported a single incident. I think they've got that covered. And let's face it, we've got systems in place where if you are operating a machine, even if you've got a human sat in the seat, we have systems that will stop the machine as well. Don't think that's going to be a major issue at all. Now, have I missed something? I have a funny feeling I have. Because Mick Saunders says, mind you, a decent Joden cook is a tasty morsel. What in the name of all that's holy is a Joden cook? I'm probably not saying that correctly either, but what is it? And Mick Norton, question of the day, South African Uma buttermilk. Uma? I don't know. I was rather hoping that the biscuit of the day would be something like, I'll pop down to my local Asda and pick one of those up. I'm not going to South Africa for a biscuit. Anybody else got anything else on the biscuits? Let's have a look. Steve Williamson says, I wondered the same thing, Gary. Would it pick up a human? Yeah, of course it would. Of course it would. We've got the systems that... I think that's one of the things that I find interesting about this. I wrote, I'm not going to try and sell it to you, but I wrote a book, Demolition 2051, about 5 or 6 years ago. Still available on Amazon, should you be so that way inclined. But all of the tech that I talked about autonomous machine controls and all those kind of things. They already exist. That exists. I will recommend, if you go and have a look at Peter Haddock's Content with Media channel over on YouTube, he's got lots of examples from lots of people, and that idea of picking up a human, there are systems in place right now. People are using them right now. It doesn't just identify the fact that there's an object. It can define whether it's an object, an inanimate object, or another machine, or whether it's a human, and it will respond accordingly. That stuff exists right now. Chris Ford, my guess with it being late, the mystery machine is a dumper. Yes it is. Steve Williamson says, where are the good operators though? If we can't get good ops that drive safe, grease and clean the machines, this is the future. And that is precisely the point. That is the point right there. Do I want men taken off of demolition and construction sites? From a safety perspective, I probably do. But do I want demolition and construction and mining and quarrying to be human-free? I don't, because those people are my people. Those are the people that I like to spend my mornings with. That's absolutely true. But if we can't find a way in which, this isn't... Construction has a certain number of targets to hit. Look at HS2. It's got to build whatever it is, 150 miles of railway. There is no option on that. The project has gone ahead. We need to do that. And if we can't find enough people to do it, then we need to find another way of doing it. We are supposed to be building somewhere between 250 and 300,000 new houses every single year to cope with the growth in the population of the UK. Be that born here or migrant, whatever it might be, never mind all of that. We have got to build 250 to 300,000 houses. And if we can't find enough people willing to get a bit of dirt under their fingernails to do that, then we will have no choice but to automate it. And also, and I hate to say this, I know the obvious thing that we always say is machines don't take sick time. They don't need maternal or maternity or paternity leave. They're not going to go down with COVID or anything like that. But think also about the precision that they can bring. You think back to going back to the 1970s again, because that is where I come from. There was a big advertising campaigns about the fact that some cars were made by robot. Yes, they were made by robot because it was cheaper ultimately to do that. Big investment up front, but it was cheaper to do it ultimately. But the biggest thing made by robots was tolerances. There was no room for human error because there was no human to make the error. And if we're talking about, major infrastructure, housing and that kind of thing, would I want to live in a house built by a robot? You're damn right I would. I've been in houses built by humans that were held together largely by mastic. I as much as I hate it, I think it is headed that way. Have you seen the Volvo road truck autonomous braking video? I have. Proves the point. I've missed this as well. Is mixed preference a shade of paint? South African Uma buttermilk. Sounds like it. Sounds like something Dulux would put out. Ah, yes. The South African Uma buttermilk. In the lounge. Well done. Did like that. Let's have a look. Lots and lots of guesses on the dumper. We will get to the correct answer in just a moment. We got very, very close with lots of people saying PS3s and 4000s, but we got there in the end. Mix orders couldn't even be bothered to see the thing through, but now there is the winning entry. Peter McKenna says the PS5000 from Benford. Benford swallowed up by Terex, if I remember rightly. Yeah. Let's have a look. Dan Cullen, so desperate he started making up machines. Jim Turner, I think that is going back to the Komatsu thing. They'll not be wearing the back tyres out on that very much. I wonder what the impact is if you can operate bi-directional. Does that even out the tyre wear? I wonder. Now, we are going to get onto this. I'll quickly throw this back up. Mick Saunders says, regarding the crane climber, was talking to the security people on Canary Wharf projects. They reckon they've stopped over 30 climbers alone this year. Why do these idiots carry on? The biggest driver, I mean, obviously, some of them are just pure thrill seekers, and I know Peter McKenna is going to make that point in just a moment. Some of them are just pure thrill seekers, but a lot of it seems to be driven by the desire for YouTube, Instagram and TikTok notoriety, to get that money shot of you hanging, and I do mean literally hanging off the side of a building, 20, 30 stories in the air. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. It really doesn't, but that seems to be one of the drivers. So Peter McKenna, why do people hang off the side of a building? Because it's fun. I used to do the same silly things when I was younger. Only difference is nowadays they have TikTok or YouTube accounts. I'll keep an eye on my urban explorer groups. That is what they are called. Urban exploration is the thing. And it's not just hanging off buildings, it is breaking and entering demolition sites. And, they are pretty determined. They won't let hoarding and padlock stop them. They will actively break into a site. So, who is to blame? And we'll come back to who is to blame in just a moment, and who should pick up the tab on additional security. But imagine there's people there. I need to look at a different screen. Bear with me 1 second. The site was on Central Road, Leeds City Centre, old House of Fraser site, where HG Construction is building a 370-bed student room scheme. So, somebody, or possibly many people, have turned up from HG Construction this morning, and they have been presented unexpectedly with a dead body. Probably not a very nice sight, because if that's the crane in question, somebody's fallen a long way, haven't they? So we're, and what happens to those guys? Is work going on that HG Construction site today? Or have the guys been sent home? Will they, or guys and girls presumably, will they be receiving any kind of counselling for what they've just encountered because of the stupidity of some pillock who wanted a decent photograph? Mick Norton says, as the PS5000 Benford is 1995 to 2004, it's nearly a classic item. A little like myself. And like yourself, Mick. Classic items. We are antiques. Now, Steve says he sent me a picture of a machine that will be difficult one. It's in my WhatsApp group. I'll take a look, Steve, but I do need your word in advance. Well, A, you need to tell me what the machine is. You may have already done that. And B, you're not allowed to enter. Yes. Going back to the crane business, a statement from the West Yorkshire Police said at 7:54 a.m. today, that's Wednesday, police received a report of a body of a man having been found at a construction site in Central Road, Leeds city centre. The man was pronounced dead at the scene. He is believed to have entered the site late last night and fallen from the crane. He was not a member of the site's work crew. Yeah, that's more or less what Construction Inquirer are reporting this morning. And if you'd like to see the full details of that, that's what it looks like. But you can go over to Construction Inquirer. It's one of their lead stories today. Dan Cullen says, yes, it's a thrill for these Egypts. Don't understand it myself. Although, listen, not the same thing. And I was a stupid boy. Where I used to live, we were facing an old disused hospital, which, as children, we all declared definitely haunted. So as a result of it being haunted and disused, we used to go and play around in there, and we'd get in there and scare the crap out of each other, screaming and shouting and everything else. But when they started to demolish part of it, and this goes to show how old I am, they actually had a crawler crane on the site. I don't remember seeing a wrecking ball at that point, but it may well have had one. It just wasn't on it. But we discovered that if you grabbed the cable, and if there was enough of you, like 10 or 12 of you, and you grabbed the cable hanging from the jib and ran away, and then 11 of the 12 of you let go, there was kind of a recoil system on the hoist system that would basically wind all of that cable back in. So 12 of you run with it, 11 let go, and guess what happens to the other one? Oh yeah, they go up in the air. I did that. Cut my hands to ribbons. We're talking steel cable here. Cut my hands to ribbons. But man alive, that was good fun. I can't point fingers because I've been there and done it myself. I have absolutely done that. Is it worth risking your life for? I don't actually think it is. Mick Saunders says, Peter, I think the fun has stopped for this bloke. Maybe it would make others stop and think. It hasn't yet. As I say, I mean, I've been reporting on this urban exploration phenomenon since at least 2016, I think. So I'm about 8 years in. It's been going on for longer than that. No, it doesn't seem that it does stop them. I think if you're that way inclined and determined. Peter McKenna, enjoying the Caterpillar video, air guitar heaven. Yes, I was having a play myself. I really was. I wasn't. Here we are. No matter how secure a site is, anyone with a battery grinder can get in anywhere. They can. And and if you are, bearing in mind there's actually money to be made here. If you've got a big YouTube or Instagram channel, much the same as I said earlier this week about demolition companies, they get to a certain size and you just have to feed the beast. And if feeding the beast means that you've got to go and hang off the side of a crane or off the side of a building, people are going to do it because there's money to be made doing it. Jim Turner says, if someone breaks in, trespasses and gets themselves killed, they've only got themselves to blame. They have, but what kind of, and I don't actually know the answer to this, so I'm going to throw this out to the audience. What kind of investigation is likely to go on at that Leeds site now? Obviously, the police will be aware. Will the police be checking the security of the site? Will there be any, could there, if the gates weren't locked last night, for example, is there any potential for the company in question, which I think was, yes, HG Construction, is there any potential that there could be a comeback on them, the fact they failed to secure their site? I'm asking the question. I don't know the answer, but I'm asking. Peter says it doesn't stop them though, pal. I know two lads and a lass that have succumbed to falls from height, all caught on video. There's always one that likes to go that extra mile. Check out Ali Law on all platforms. I don't think I'll do that. He goes way beyond what I call fun. He's got videos climbing cranes all over the world. But at the same time, there are plenty of videos of people, literally hanging on by their hands, dangling from a crane and lose their grip and die. There is enough out there, but it doesn't seem to put them off. There is Mick answering my very question. The site contractor of the lead site has a vicarious responsibility, even for the duty and care of trespassers. There you are. I'm sure I've told this story before, and I'm struggling to remember the name of the company involved. Doesn't matter. There was a British access platform manufacturer. This would have been, my guess would be late 1980s. And one of their key markets was America. They were exporting a lot of equipment to America. But they had an instance where somebody had broken into a site overnight and had activated one of their scissor lifts. And for reasons best known to the person, they'd stuck their arm into the scissor mechanism and it had chopped their arm off. This being America, the guy sued both the contractor and the manufacturer of the machine and won. And he won to such a huge degree that the manufacturer in question basically said, that's it, we're done with America. We can't be exposing ourselves to this level of risk because, there is every possibility that this will now set a precedent. People will deliberately or otherwise injure themselves with one of our machines and come after us. So they basically quit America. Yeah. What was the security on site? Was it camera only or physical security, guys? Too early to tell. I'm sure that will come out in the wash. Mick Saunders says, thank God I had he doesn't say God, but thank God I had an early breakfast. Not sure I could take another conversation on plums or minges today. We found our level, people. Plums or minges. That's welcome to the Breakfast Show, where we talk about diggers, dozers, plums, and minges. Permanent solution for a temporary problem. Good to talk, but sometimes people can't talk and you have no idea. My stepbrother jumped off a bridge. No one suspected it. as far as we can tell, this one is a fall rather than a deliberate fall, but it is early days. But yeah, fair comment. Peter McKenna says, even with the best security, if they want the thrill of climbing, they will get there by whatever means. I've even known people drop bait for guard dogs before entering sites. Might not have been suicide related. Lots like climbing towers for the thrill of it. This is very true. Steve, I mentioned this earlier, but I'm going to mention it again. I wonder how they get on delivering equipment to Intermat with all these farmers protesting and blocking roads. It's an interesting point. I mean, as I say, Intermat is still a good couple of months away, so hopefully all of that will be resolved. And thankfully, Intermat is not on quite the same scale as Balmer. When you think about Balmer, I think Liebherr, for example, are in the site probably 3 months before the show begins, and they're there for about 3 months after the show ends, taking down the huge stand they've built. Don't believe that's going to be the case at Intermat. But I do hope that the protests are over and done with, and that we get to actually see the show. I'm listening to you on surround sound on phones on YouTube. Good. How do we sound in stereo? Surround sound. I do actually have the capability of changing the sound. That doesn't really help at all, but wish I could play around with that. You could be right. There's plenty of stuff online. People do silly things just to try and impress. Yeah. Mick Saunders says, Peter, I look after a scrapyard with my hound. Yes, I have SIA and dog handler credentials. Someone tried to poison my dog a couple of months ago, but he's trained only to eat what I feed him. If people do that just to get their kicks, then they deserve all that comes their way. I can't say I agree with that, but frankly, anybody that harms a dog does deserve a damn good kicking. Peter McKenna, these people, 3 people died and 9 others were injured on last Wednesday evening when the steel frame of a new hangar being built at the airport in Boise, Idaho, collapsed onto a number of aerial work platforms, telehandlers, and at least 1 crane. They will try and get away with this just for the thrill. Yes, they will. I know you've dropped this day in history. I thought it would be an interesting fact with it being in London. Thank you very much. I'm glad. Ali Law, Mark? Ali Law? We mentioned Ali Law earlier. I'm not sure I want to go and have a look, but did you see a few weeks ago in China, a guy jumped to his death, has missed his catch to the next building? Yeah, Dan, his video is meant to be being broadcast by his family to attempt to stop others succumbing to the same tragedy. I think that's probably going too far. But as I say, I grew up in an era where we had... listen, if you're around on Saturday, I may dredge one up if I can find one on YouTube. I'll show you precisely what I was meaning. The video or the TV adverts to stop people playing or stop children playing on the railway lines, really graphic. Do we need something like that? I'd love to hear from you. We've got another vote for the chocolate digestive, and I will ask the same question again. Are we talking milk chocolate or are we talking dark chocolate? If we are talking dark chocolate, we are of one mind, Chris. I think they need to take back the old TV ad, but with the woke society, they've been complaining about it. Well, but we have very graphic advertising surrounding, not advertising, but warnings surrounding cigarettes and what have you. Why not? Why not? Did it work? I don't know. I mean, I never played on the railway. I don't know whether that was because I'd seen the advert or because I just had enough common sense to think that's a really stupid idea. Paul Latham's just joined us. Morning, Paul. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Apparently, Dan Cullen is on a commission with Ben's Vegan Biscuits. They do multiple types of cookies. You need to try them. I couldn't. My body would shut down if I were to eat a vegan biscuit. I like a syrup biscuit or syrup anything, frankly. Absolutely anything. My wife likes an Oreo. She does. We often bring back Oreos when we're in the States of different flavors. And there's double cream Oreo. Yes. See, the funny thing about... I'm not a big Oreo fan for a start. The best bit of the Oreo is actually the biscuit, in my humble opinion. Just saying. I'm just going to show you what he's talking about. That was our mystery machine today. Jim Turner says, in my book, that's a tidy looked after dumper. Spent years using it a lot worse than that. I'm sure a lot of people have. Let's get rid of that. Who else we got? Footy says, we're talking about cakes. The only thing I do miss is a lardy cake. Love them to bits. Anyone lardy? I don't think I've ever had a lardy cake. There's our friend Garvin. High continuous holding. We're back to site security. High continuous holding and chain lock gates has to be deemed legally sufficient for security, surely. Add CCTV internally or whatever for another layer. If theft is added is an added concern, how much more, if anything, should be spent, can be decided by the client developer. It's a whole discussion itself. It really is. You know, if you want that level of security or you believe it is necessary, and I'm not just talking specifically here about people climbing machines. You know, we've had AR Demolition a few years ago had a couple of their machines torched. They had security on site. You know, it was a secure site, but people managed to get in and torch the machines. If they had decided to raise that security to men and dogs and what have you at the additional cost, who pays for that? I guess while AR Demolition were operating that site, it was nominally their site, but the site ultimately was owned by a developer or a main contractor. Who is responsible? Who pays the ferryman on that in that instance? Whatever fuel they may use on machines in the future, bring it on, says Steve Williamson. I think we need to accept that. Yeah, we need to accept that, because probably not in my lifetime career, but it's coming. Dan Cullen says, I was listening to the news. The temperature of our planet stayed a degree higher for a full year now. The threat is real. I was under no illusions about that whatsoever. Listen, there's an awful lot of bollocks talked on TV, but if David Attenborough believes we've got an issue, it's good enough for me. I'm with David Attenborough all day long. And again, I'll say it again. If we've already made fundamental changes in our lives, we have got more to come. And you know, I can see it impinging on things like air travel. You know, there is talk about imposing an additional levy. If you fly once a year to go off to Torremolinos on your hollybobs, you probably won't pay much extra. But if you are one of those people that's on and off planes all the time, there is talk about you actually paying more and more and more of a levy to do that, because you are contributing to that global warming issue. Mick Norton says the Aussies have very successfully adopted full autonomy for large extraction mining operations in a wide range of earth movers for years. Yeah, I mean, I've been reporting on these for, blimey, 20 years, probably 20 years. And I know initially it was they were feeling their way, and maybe one machine out of 10 was autonomous and so on down the line. But there are entire mines now that are human free, and they are working very, very well indeed. What about the mechanics to repair these autonomous plant, as they need major upskilling to be able to fix these and computer illiterate wheel mechanics quit? I think we've kind of got that happening now. I mean, when was aside from mechanical things, and I do mean mechanical in this truest sense, aside from mechanical things, what can you actually fix on a modern digger yourself these days? You know, there used to be a time, obviously we had and we have very, very good fitters who knew, you know, they could make a machine and an engine sing. But you look at a lot of machines now, you know, you've got you know, computer diagnostics. You are effectively in the hands now of your local dealer. You know, for you to diagnose that problem. Now it cuts both ways. Obviously, with the advent of telematics, we now have the ability to identify issues before they actually become downtime. But the flip side of that is, you open the bonnet of some of these machines, where would you begin? Where would you begin? You know, you and your bag of spanners, you know, you need a sonic screwdriver for these things, and a laptop, and a special program that tells you precisely what you're doing. Are we going to see the end of the fitter in the truest sense? I wonder if we are. Another problem is they rather try and influence people on what looks great, but not showing how physical part of the job or the hours involved, which is fake. I think for more than 20 years, I think the industry has missed the opportunity to show what it's all about. And I think as an industry, we've missed that. But I think from a manufacturer point of view, as I say, with electric machines, with hydrogen machines, with autonomous, with remote control, I don't think enough has been done to educate. Think of the big track from the 1980s, same principle as modern day autonomous vehicles. Yes, absolutely right it is. On autonomous vehicles, says Mick Norton, the need to reverse is deliberately removed in the assessment of foreseeability of risk. Yeah. Dan Cullen says people need to give an honest opinion, not blow up a brand name for more money. It's ridiculous. It's a conversation that Steve and I have had more than once. Yeah, you're right. You're right. And well, I have no fundamental problem with an influencer doing that. Where I have an issue is this is still quite a new phenomenon, and I don't honestly believe that a lot of people in the market can tell the difference between paid influencer and genuine content creator. You know, there are some people on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, if they say this is the best machine I've ever driven, I just let it sort of wash over my ears and take no notice of them. If Steve Williamson says it, if Ollie Gunn says it, you know, and a bunch of others, if they say it, I'm more inclined to agree with them because I trust their opinion. The problem I think we have at the moment is the paid influencer has made such a rapid arrival on the scene that I don't actually know if the industry has moved with the times and is sufficiently savvy to know the difference between genuine opinion and paid opinion. On autonomous vehicles, the need to reverse is deliberately... No, we've done that. Mick Saunders says, Dutch Jewish biscuit. What is a Dutch Jewish biscuit? Oh, I wonder. Mick Norton, are you up for Scott Plant? I'll throw that out there. Andy Darvell is throwing into the mix Fox's double chocolate. I don't think I've had a Fox's double chocolate, but it's given that it says double chocolate, I'd certainly give it a try. Our industry fucks itself over by making a catch-22 situation of people not being able to get practical experience on plant without a ticket, not being able to get a ticket without experience. That deserves to be a poster. That deserves to be a poster. In the field of demolition, and it's something that the industry used to come up with or come up against, and I'm sure it's still going on today. You had tier one contractors. If you're going to operate a high reach excavator on our site, we need to be assured that the person operating it has been sufficiently trained, they have the right card, the right credentials, and that they are deemed to be competent. So they must undergo specific training to allow them to operate a high reach excavator. To which the demolition contractor would say, that's absolutely fine. Can we do some training on one of your sites? Oh, no. So you want them to be trained, you want them to be site savvy, but you won't allow that site savviness to be gained on your site. 'Tis bollocks, I tell you. Dan Cullen says also, question is, what is the penalty of trespassing on site? Do they get a slap on the wrist or fined, or do they get prison time? I think the latter would deter the problem. I'd like to think it would, but listen, how many people see these videos online, and they are here and overseas, of people just going into shops and helping themselves? I said, I bumped into one who was helping himself in a local shop maybe 6 months ago, just basically filling a bag full of food, and nobody tried to stop him. I don't suppose the police were even called. It was just put that down to experience. I watched one last night of a guy who basically walked into an Apple store in America and was just ripping iPhones off the display, sticking them in his pocket, and he walked out. Nobody challenged him. So, are the police actually going up? bearing in mind, if you have a look on Demolition News, as I say, go to Demolition News and search for urban exploration. We know the name of the person that owns the channel that has put it on, and he has photographed and filmed himself and his friends trespassing. Has anything come of that? My guess is probably not. Dan Collins says, a month behind bars or 6 months hard community service to deter them. Uma apparently is Afrikaans for mother, and it's a rusk. A rusk. I've not eaten a rusk since I was 2. As far as I'm aware, that's not true. My sister is 7 years younger than me, used to nick her Farley's rusks back in the day. The tyre wear comment was about the XCMG shop. Thank you very much indeed for that. Oh, yes, thank you. It had the chains on. I'm now on the same wavelength as you. Do you not think a lot of people in the UK see new things coming into construction, say waste of time, won't last, shite, etc. UK is very negative for modern and new things coming into the industry. When tilt rotators first arrived in the UK, everyone said they won't last, will break, etc. But look at them now. Tilt rotators, 100%. Quick couplers, exactly the same. GPS, exactly the same. Yeah. And one of the things, and listen, we as a collective here, I think we are equally guilty of this. When I first started reporting on electric machines, it was so exciting, and I think one of the first electric machines I saw was a JCB, and it was a mini excavator running on electric. That just blows my mind. What an amazing innovation. How fantastic that we can make that happen. Imagine the benefits. Imagine the lack of emissions and the lack of noise, and a British company's done that. How fantastic! And then, literally within a few weeks or a few months, that UK cynicism, and I do wonder if it is purely a UK cynicism. We looked at it and went, yeah, but what if? What if we can't fix them? What if the battery runs out? What if we can't get through a full day? You guys know this better than I do. Depending on what you're actually doing on the site that you're on, really and truly, how much is your machine working? Now, if you're on a large scale earthworks project and you're driving an excavator, you are constantly, 4 or 5 hours, lunch break, 4 or 5 hours, home. You are constantly in motion. But the absolute truth is, and particularly when you're talking about smaller machines like mini excavators, they are not constantly running. They are not. If you've got an 8, 9, 10 hour working day, the chances are that mini excavator might be working for 4? So all of this negativity about it won't make it past lunchtime. Yes, it fucking will. Of course it will. And I'll use the same thing that I used earlier when I was talking about autonomous machines. Do you think that a company with the engineering prowess that somebody like Volvo brings to bear, do you really think that they would offer you a mini excavator that was less than capable? Do you really? This is where my brain goes off at a tangent. You know those people that say the Earth is flat, or that 9/11 was a US government conspiracy, and those that say we've never landed on the moon. And when you ask them how they came to that conclusion, I have done my research. Yes. So Bob the hairdresser from Bolton in Lancashire. I've just plucked that out of the air. Bob the hairdresser from Lancashire knows more about moon landings and the JFK assassination than the world. Does he? Does he really? And I'd say the same. I'm not being paid, and I'm not overly pro electric. I do think we have some challenges to overcome. But if Volvo say that one of their mini excavators, an electric machine, will last you an entire day if you manage your fuel or your energy consumption and what have you, I'll take their word for it, because they're a lot fucking smarter than I am. Yeah, we're going back to whoever the unfortunate person was that discovered the body of the fallen guy this morning. What will the unfortunate person's mental health be like? Will they get support? I'd like to think they will. These guys won't stop because of social media. They probably get thousands of likes and views. So why would they stop? And bearing in mind those thousands of views and thousands of likes are each, they're not a pound note, but they are each representative of some cash. Speaking of that, I have some tragic news. I don't know where we are right now, but I am on the verge of hitting 99,000 followers over on YouTube. So we are fast homing in on the 100,000 mark, which is the point where you're supposed to get your silver play button, like the one that Fred's got just there. I won't be getting one. Yes, my channel is demonetized because I share other people's videos, and it's kind of a breach of copyright. I've taken a look. I don't get one, so I'm just going to have to lie and claim. If you can't see it clearly, you'd probably think that was mine anyway. Going back to HG Construction, one tiny thing out of place on that site, I bet they would jump on that, and that's the company goosed. Yeah, you're right. Mick Saunders says, going back to security, when I'm in the yard, if you break into the yard, it's a criminal act. If I chase you I can only hold on to you. If I set my dog on you, I am to blame. My dog is trained to chase and then corner the person. Only on a set command will he attack. If I was to do that, could be charged. The whole law of trespass needs changing. Yeah, it is lunacy. Dan Cullen says it's all a bloody mess, trying to get more money of the out of the subscribers and more followers. What about the family of that guy? How will they ever get over what he did due to his irresponsibility? Yeah, I mean, they haven't announced the name or the age of the guy, but imagine, there is likely a mother or a father, possibly both, sons, daughters, nieces, nephews, and all of that. That they are now coming to terms with the fact that one of their relatives was daft enough to climb a crane and fall off. And that also applies to house dog owners. Your dog bites a burglar, you get nicked. Thankfully, I own boxer dogs. If somebody broke into this house and they had a biscuit in their hand, my dogs would welcome them. Welcome them with open paws. Mick Dalton says, in my experience, shock graphics do not work as a means of changing behavioural traits. It's an interesting point, but I do wonder what is the alternative. Question of the day. Mick Norton says, why can't you single dunk a chocolate digestive into the standard mug? There's a design fault, isn't there? Although I have to say, I have quite big mugs. I can get a biscuit in there. And listen, that's not a coincidence. Tea and coffee should be dunkable. I don't want any of these bloody narrow flutes for your tea. I want to be able to get a whole bloody biscuit in there. Great show, Mark says. Dan, thank you very much. Have a wonderful day, guys. Stay dry, stay warm, and most of all, stay safe. Looking forward to the first Saturday show of 2024. We'll be here. Anything fixed on a Volvo or added, or anything fixed on a Volvo or added or replaced needs a laptop plugged in. Precisely. Yeah, I didn't read that very well, but you're absolutely right. The old, Bob with his bag of spanners and his sledgehammer to go and fix the machine. Not so much anymore. Is there enough content for an all autonomous show? Yeah, I bet there is. Hang on. I have in front of me, that part of my plan for the new year was to go more analog, writing things down on paper. That's notes for the show. There are three things on here. One is the Saturday social, which somebody asked me to bring it back. We're doing that. We're doing that the second Saturday of every month. The Craic, I'm working on that. That is going to be me interviewing you guys for actually appearing on here. And we've also got bloopers on there, which I know Steve Williamson suggested. I'm on the lookout for the right shape of blooper on that. And I've just added to that autonomous show. let's get that in the diary, shall we? And then we can all pick apart exactly what we think. Maybe a lot of electrics, but aren't there still hydraulic motors, pistons for turning, tipping, wear and tear on skips needed patched or replaced? We still need mechanics. We are increasingly, I think, moving to dry machines, aren't we? Who was I talking to? May have been Volvo, and it may have been their. Can't remember what machine it was, but there are no hydraulics on the damn thing. Everything is done by electrics. So you don't need a mechanic or a fitter anymore. You need a sparky. Mick Norton says, back in the day, I always carried my 3/4 AF combination spanner for the many operator adjustments on my old Cat D8H in the 1960s. Does anyone carry a spanner anymore? Does anyone do that? Does anyone carry a pocket knife? I've always quite fancied being one of those people, not because I want to go out a stabbing of an evening, but I've always quite fancied being one of those people that had a pocket knife. My dad had one. I've got it here. That was one of my dad's pocket knives. He used to, for a little while, my dad smoked a pipe, so there was a few tools that he used there. But he also big fisherman, so being able to cut line and with a little pair of scissors or a sharp blade. Anyone else carry a pocket knife? Are you allowed to these days? I don't know. Jim Turner says, talking of honest reviews, I'm about to voice my opinion on the JCB 8.5 ton mini digger soon. Look forward to seeing that. And people do say, yeah, it's electric, but sometimes it's a diesel generator charging it. But has anyone actually looked at how much fuel is used to charge a machine to the max compared to the diesel machine running 10 hours a day? A good point. Very, very well made. What do we think about Tier 1 contractors who remotely monitor their operators on artificial intelligence cameras fitted to the machines to check if the pre-start walkabout has been undertaken? Heat-seeking face recognition often employed. Cuts both ways. Immediately, the first thing that comes into my mind is a Big Brother, which I'm not particularly comfortable with. But bearing in mind the amount of money that goes into buying a machine, and operating that machine and maintaining that machine, if I had spent £1 million on a digger and I was putting it in the hands of a third-party operator, I'd quite like to know that they were taking good care of it. I'd find that quite reassuring. So, cuts both ways. Steve Williamson says, the earth is flat, probably the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. People that have a mind that thinks like that, then get to. Don't need people like that in the world. It is. I may have told you this before. He's not my son-in-law because they're not married. But my eldest daughter's other half, he's a plumber and heating and ventilating engineer. Not the sharpest tool in the box and so on. And I went round there one evening and you could tell he was excited because he opened the door and he said, so, what do you think about the moon landings then? And you know when you feel your heart sink, when you just think, oh God, what now? So yes, he said, what do you think about the moon landings? And I said, fantastic feat of human ingenuity. What a fantastic achievement. Imagine being Neil Armstrong, the first person to have set foot on not a planet, but out in space and all of the things. Ah yes, he said. Never happened. And I said, okay, upon what are you basing that opinion? And I was expecting him to say something like, I've watched the videos where somebody claims that Stanley Kubrick did the whole thing in a studio somewhere. And this was his answer. He said, well, they took photographs on the moon. I said, yes. He said, do you know they put a flag on the moon? Yes. Do you know how they put the flag in the ground on the moon? And I said, not off the top of my head, I don't know. And he said, they had a mallet. Who the hell would take a mallet to the moon? That was his argument against the lunar landings. The fact that somebody had taken a mallet. They also took a golf club. He had overlooked that, but at the presence of a mallet, apparently disregarded completely disregarded. Yeah. The people who watch this guy who was killed have blood on their hands. I agree. Yeah, I agree. Right, people, the dog is pulling a strange face and it keeps looking at my stand lamp with a tear in his eye. Stay safe, fellas. Catch you on the next show. Good luck to you. Thanks for being here, Mick. Yes, I like to carry my Leatherman, says Dan Collin. I too. Where is it? There it is. I too have a Leatherman. Mine is actually, I don't know if you can see that, how well you can see it. There you are. Mine is actually a JCB Leatherman. Had that for years. Goes with me. Doesn't go with me everywhere, but it certainly goes fishing with me and stuff. As Steve Williamson, I carry a pocket knife in the machine. Most asked thing I'm asked if I have a knife. Yeah, it's surprising how often it comes up, and I have to say I do use that. We get a lot of Amazon deliveries in this house, one way and another. Very few of which are actually for me, but Amazon arrives, break out the Leatherman. Jim Turner. I'm not surprised at this. Jim is very much a pocket knife kind of guy, in my opinion. Yes, I carry a penknife, spanners in the snap bag, and a dull set of tools on the truck at all times. I'm guessing that's a full set of tools, actually. Mick says, got my old granddad's knife he cleaned his pipe out with. Always in my pocket. Yeah. Mick Saunders said, made by the Cutlers for King George V. Really? The thing I laugh at most is Greenpeace. They protest near Orwig saying, stop that drilling. But standing on a boat burning gallons and gallons of fuel a minute with their wooden stakes, probably made in a plant that uses diesel equipment to make them. Yeah, although, taking that, and I know you mentioned about generators earlier, Steve, there was a concert, like a Save the Planet concert in Hyde Park in London, maybe 2 years ago. And everything supposedly was home knitted and stuff, and the PA system, you got bands up there, we must save the planet, and Bono and Chris Martin of Coldplay, we're going to save the planet, end global warming. If you went round the back of the stage, there in all their glory, big line of Caterpillar diesel generators providing the power so that the world could hear Bono proclaiming his greatness. Yes, Mick Saunders is off. I'm off too, Mick. I can't believe how long this show's been going on. That's an hour and 47 minutes of your life you're not going to get back. And we managed to avoid, by and large, testicles. But we did talk trespass. I didn't see that coming. People, go and have a fantastic day, would you? I'll be back here tomorrow. Dan Dozer says, where is this from? Where is what from? If you mean where is this show from, the show is from the UK. If you didn't mean where is this show from, I don't know what you mean, where is this from? But if you're talking about the show, we are in the UK. I'm located just outside London, near Epsom, where the derby happens. The Epsom derby, not the Kentucky derby. Don't know where you're watching from, but thank you for joining us. Love your name. Hope to see you here again soon. But we are walking out the door right now. Back tomorrow at 10 a.m. and back on Saturday as well for more of the same. Although it won't be the same, it'll be something completely different because that's what you people do. And Dan Dozer says he's in Wisconsin. Well, howdy. I've got nothing more American up my sleeve. Howdy. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. How is Wisconsin? Don't answer that. I'd love to think that Wisconsin is gorgeous because in my head it absolutely is, but I'm walking out the door. But if you would like to join us a little bit earlier tomorrow, you can take part in the show. I'd love to hear your story. Obviously, your name has got Dozer in it. I'm guessing you are a donor operator or a Dozer owner. Love to get your backstory. Dan, join us tomorrow. Everybody else, join us tomorrow or Saturday. Take your pick. Till then, everybody have a fantastic day. Stay safe, stay warm, stay dry. See you soon. All the best.